All right. So we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you talk about things and it feels good to then be able to say, you know, misery loves company. And you can talk about how things are terrible, things are terrible, things are terrible. But I want us to look at something. And that is the law. And we're going to hear from you guys as well this morning. I know the duvet is warm. You don't have to be outside holiday. You're using the time to do something else. Maybe it doesn't matter where you are. You're going to study a little bit extra because you don't have to be in class because it's a public holiday. But hear us out on this one, guys, that the Constitution is the law of the land. The Constitution is the guiding law for you in this country. Okay? That's number one. Number two is that everybody, it's not for some people, whereby you say, how about you use that Constitution? I'm okay. I don't need it. No. It's for everyone. When we're looking at elections, some things were very clear. That Minor Kiai took a case to court, and he said to them, and I'm just breaking this down in bite size for us to then be able to gobble it up. And he said, you know what? This thing doesn't make sense. That you go to your polling station, you vote. Not more than 600 of you can vote in that station, right? In the constituency, whatever. So you vote. Now, those votes are collated and then they're taken to the constituency tallying center.
Yes.
Right? All of those happen. And a returning officer at the bottom of that thing has said, okay, we've counted. These are the results. Somebody signs. They put them together. They tally. They get a number, the results, and they declare. I have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 700. And I have opened my mouth and have said, in this constituency, SpiceFM polling center, the number was 599 for Dennis, 1 for Ndu. Right?
Yes.
This then, all of you now, the different streams, take it like that. You now go to your constituency tallying center. Let's say it was then GM around a bus stop. We've all taken there, isn't it? Now, at GM bus stop, everybody now has brought their thing, isn't it? The returning officer at that point now says, you know what? This is the number that we have received. We can count. We put it together. And I have declared that in this tallying center, Dennis Aseto has won by 56,000 votes, whatever, to Ndu's 10. And so I have collated the results and I have declared. Sindio?
Kabisa.
Declared. I've even signed there. What Minor Kiai is saying is, since that has already been done, that should be final.
Final, yeah.
And this was prior to 2013. Ama?
True.
All right. He said this should be final. The courts, in their judicial freedom, decided, you know what? This guy is right. So essentially what you have done is that you have removed the need for a national tallying center because you have already tallied. Not only have you tallied, but you have declared. So this thing that people have been doing at Bomas since I don't know when, then essentially, according to this ruling, was unnecessary.
Yes.
And it was duplicitous in nature because the question is, if you have tallied and you have declared, why is everybody and their uncle still running to Nairobi and running to Bomas where you can transmit this thing electronically? The result that you have at the center is the same thing that you have at Bomas. So why do you need it? So the court agreed and they said, actually, you're right. That at the national tallying center, you are just repeating what people have done around the country.
Yes.
So there's no need for it.
You're actually repeating the tough work that has already been done.
The work has been done.
Yeah.
So when you have people at Boma sleeping there, people are still calculating, choir singing, rats off the ship. Hey, bana. Essentially, what the court has said is that is a useless activity. And that there is something that you may be trying to hide and or add, subtract, because we already know that the result is final.
Yes.
The presidential vote is the first one to be counted. So if you can accept that the member of parliament, MCA, senator, woman, rep, governor, whatever, is final at the constituency tallying center, why can't you then accept that the presidential vote is also final at the constituency tallying center?
Yeah.
Do you see? So, if all of these things remain equal, like we've said, 2013, 2017, 2022, why did we go to Bomas? And people go on to kill themselves, others singing until their voices are hoarse, and then you announce at Bomas. You should have announced at the whatever you announced at the CTC should have been final. So what were people doing at Bomas?
Yeah, because then again, you hear the language around that has been that the National Tallying Center has been where you verify what has been done at the constituency tallying center, right? But at the CTC, the declaration based off the ruling in the minor KI case, it is final. There is nothing else that you're doing, because the verification ought to happen at the constituency tallying center, because you have the custody of everything else, of the ballot papers at the constituency tallying center. In the event that you disagree with what has come from the polling stations, you can open up and recount the same. So what exactly are we doing at the National Tallying Center when there is nothing you're doing with regard to verifying? Because if I say I disagree with what you have, do we go back to the constituency tallying center where it was declared and recount these votes?
Why?
That's the question.
Why? So, if 1 + 1 on a normal day is 2, why have people been going to Bomas? And should you not then be able to get the form that was brought to you by your RO at the now we're using acronyms, by your returning officer at the constituency tallying center, and actually go back and trace and say, this was the result of the election? You actually don't need to look for the server. You don't need to look for that guy called Jose inside the back of somewhere dark. No. If those forms, 31A, B, C, D, Z, are still available, you should actually be able to go to them and say, hey, around the 290 polling stations, and then the 1,000 and whatever, this is the result. Collect, and it has already been declared. You should, if whatever happened at Bomas is the same thing that happened on those forms, then you can say, yes, actually, this is what happened. But if it did not, then you start to ask yourselves, in 2013, in 2017, in 2022, after the minor KI ruling, if it's different, then you have a problem.
You have a problem because, Ndu, remember, when we talk about these results being declared, who are the people who are around that process? We have party agents, we have presidential agents, and we have members of parliament who are always hanging around, right? Because they also...
Everybody's guarding their votes.
Them and their agents, plus their opponents who are guarding their votes. So by the time by the time you get to a member of parliament, the presidential results have already been released, because we start with them. And that means everybody has agreed, including the opponents of the results that are there. So we're not talking about an individual, we're talking about a community of people who've agreed to this result that has been given. So by the time it gets to Nairobi, what are you doing when everybody else has agreed with it? We're talking about 290 results across the country that keeps us here for 5 days.
Why? Why? Because why do we... If the IEBC is well aware of this, what's so difficult then in actually following what the law says? Because you know what? The minor KI ruling was not just a ruling whereby they said, okay, well, we've had a fun day in court. Let's say that minor KI and whatever he's brought to us makes sense, and then let's do away with that thing. No, it was made law. A judicial ruling essentially then became law, that this is what you should actually follow. So if this is in the law, then why does it make it so difficult to actually follow it? And why wouldn't the IEBC insist, IEBC as well as other officers, insist that this thing actually be done? If you don't want to follow the law, then there is something else that you want to do that is outside the law, which essentially is breaking the law.
I mean, this is what that ruling said. Let's just